Hello, Virgo. This isn't going to go the way you think. Someone is about to reach out to you. Someone whose contact you might be hoping for or dreading or have stopped expecting altogether. And when they do, when that message arrives or that call comes through, there's going to be a twist, a revelation, a direction you weren't anticipating. Something that flips the script on what you thought was happening between you and them. And I need you to see this before it happens so you're not caught completely off guard. So you can navigate the twist instead of being blindsided by it. Because here's the thing about twists. They reveal truth you didn't have access to. They change the meaning of everything that came before. They force you to reconsider your assumptions, to see the situation from an angle you hadn't considered. And depending on how grounded you are when the twist arrives, it can either clarify everything or throw you into complete confusion. So let's explore this. Who's reaching out, what the twist might involve, why it's happening now, and how to prepare yourself to receive information that contradicts what you've believed about this connection. Take what resonates here. This is about incoming contact with unexpected elements. You remain in control of your response, always. This is simply an invitation to brace for surprise so it doesn't destabilize you. Let me start by describing the energy of this reach out, because it's not casual. It's not random, hey, how are you energy. This is intentional. This person has something specific they need to communicate, something they've been sitting on, something that's been building pressure until they can't hold it anymore. And when they finally make contact, the content of what they say is going to surprise you, maybe shock you, definitely make you rethink the entire dynamic you thought you understood. And the twist is that their reality doesn't match your assumptions. What you thought was happening wasn't. What you thought they felt different than you believed. What you thought their silence or distance meant, completely misinterpreted. And their reach out is going to illuminate the gap between what you thought was true and what's actually been going on. Now, let me talk about who this person might be, because the energy shows up in different relationship contexts. For many of you, this is someone with romantic history or potential, an ex who left under circumstances you thought you understood, someone you've been dating who's been distant or unclear, someone who rejected you or pulled away or disappeared, and you've created a story about why, about what it meant, about who they are and how they feel. And the twist is that your story was wrong. The real reason is something you never considered. For others, this is a friend who's been absent or strange, someone who pulled back and you assumed it was about you, that they were done with the friendship or upset with you or moving on. But the twist reveals they were dealing with something entirely separate, something you had no visibility into. And their distance wasn't rejection, it was survival. For some, this is family. A parent or sibling or relative who's been cold or distant or difficult, and you've interpreted their behavior one way, but they're about to reach out and reveal a completely different perspective, information about why they've been, how they've been, that recontextualizes your entire relationship history. And for a few, this might be professional. Someone from work or a business context reaching out with information that changes your understanding of past events, of why you were passed over or why things happened the way they did, the behind the scenes reality that you weren't privy to that explains outcomes you thought you understood. Let me ask you something. Is there someone you've been thinking about lately? Someone whose behavior you've been trying to decode, whose absence you've been trying to make peace with, someone you've created explanations for because you needed to make sense of what happened between you. That person is probably your person, the one about to reach out with the twist, because often we feel these things before they happen. We think about someone repeatedly, not randomly, but because energetically they're moving toward us, because their decision to reach out is forming, and we're picking up on that intention before it manifests as actual contact. You know what I'm picking up on most strongly? The specific nature of the twist, and it falls into a few distinct categories depending on your situation. Let me break them down so you can start recognizing which one might be yours. Twist 1. They want you more than you thought. You assumed they were indifferent or had moved on or weren't interested, but they're about to reach out and reveal they've been carrying feelings they never expressed. That their distance wasn't disinterest, it was fear or confusion or external circumstances keeping them from acting on what they felt. And now something shifted and they're ready to be honest about how much you actually matter to them. Twist 2. Their situation was completely different than you knew. You thought they ghosted because they didn't care. But they're about to reveal they were dealing with crisis you had no awareness of. Health issues, family emergencies, mental health struggles, situations that consumed them so completely they couldn't maintain connection. And their silence wasn't about you at all. It was about survival through something you didn't know was happening. Twist 3. Someone else was influencing the situation. You thought their behavior was their choice, but they're about to reveal that someone else was in their ear. A toxic friend convincing them you were wrong for them, an ex manipulating them, family pressuring them, and they're reaching out because they've finally broken free from that influence and can see clearly now. Twist 4. The reason they left wasn't the reason you thought. You've been carrying shame or blame, thinking they walked away because you weren't enough. But they're about to tell you the real reason. And it had nothing to do with your worth. It was about their own limitations, their own fears, their own unreadiness. And they're reaching out to set the record straight, to release you from whatever story you've been telling yourself. Let me slow down here because I need to address how to prepare for this twist. And preparation doesn't mean scripting responses or trying to predict exactly what they'll say. Preparation means getting yourself emotionally grounded, getting to a place where new information can land without completely destabilizing you, where you can hear truth that contradicts your assumptions without your ego immediately rejecting it or your heart immediately accepting it without question. Because twists trigger reaction. They mess with what you thought you knew. And in that moment of disorientation, you can make choices you'll regret. You can respond from emotion instead of wisdom. You can let the twist push you back into something that wasn't serving you, or you can let it create unnecessary closure with someone who deserves another chance. So ground yourself now before the reach out happens. So when the twist arrives, you're stable enough to process it clearly. Drop a comment if you already have a suspicion about who this is or what the twist might be. If your intuition is whispering possibilities. If there's someone whose reach out you've been half expecting or half dreading. Because I think many of you know, you just don't want to get your hopes up or prepare for disappointment, but knowing is better than being blindsided, even when knowing is uncomfortable. You know what else I'm sensing? Timing. This reach out is happening soon, within days or a couple weeks maximum. The person has made the decision. They're working up the courage or waiting for the right moment, but the internal commitment is there. The reach out is inevitable, and when it comes, the twist will be immediate. Not something revealed slowly over conversation, but something they lead with, something they need you to know right away. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if the twist is exactly what you need to hear? What if it releases you from a story you've been trapped in? What if it reveals that the shame you've been carrying wasn't warranted? That the closure you thought you had was based on misunderstanding? That there's possibility where you thought there was only finality, or finality where you've been holding on to false hope? Because sometimes twists are gifts. Sometimes they liberate us from narratives that were hurting us. Sometimes they provide answers we've been seeking. Sometimes they open doors we thought were permanently sealed. And sometimes they close doors we needed to stop standing in front of. Let me offer you practical guidance about handling this reach out when it comes. First, let them finish before you respond. Even if the twist is shocking, even if your first instinct is to interrupt with questions or defenses, let them say everything they came to say, because the full context matters, the complete picture. And if you react to the first sentence, you might miss critical information that comes in the last. Second, take time before deciding what the twist means. Don't immediately jump to conclusions or make decisions. Sit with the new information. Let it settle. Process it with people you trust. Because twists are disorienting and your immediate reaction might not be your wisest response. Third, believe their words but watch their actions. If the twist involves them revealing feelings or wanting another chance or explaining their behavior, that's information. But information needs to be verified through consistent behavior over time. Don't let one conversation erase months of them not showing up. Words are easy. Changed behavior is what matters. Fourth, honor your own truth even as you receive theirs. The twist might explain their perspective, but that doesn't automatically invalidate your experience. You can understand why they did what they did and still maintain boundaries around how it affected you. Both things can be true simultaneously. Fifth, use the twist as clarification, not as obligation. Just because they're reaching out with new information doesn't mean you owe them anything. You don't have to immediately forgive or re-engage or give another chance. You can receive the information, appreciate the clarity, and still choose to maintain distance if that's what serves you. Let me ask you one final question. What are you most hoping the twist will be? And what are you most afraid it will be? Because those hopes and fears are going to influence how you receive whatever they actually say. If you're hoping they're reaching out to confess feelings and they're actually reaching out to apologize and create closure, you might miss the value of what they're offering because it's not what you wanted. Or if you're afraid they're reaching out to hurt you further and they're actually reaching out to heal something, your defenses might block the connection they're trying to create. So identify your hopes and fears now. Name them. So when the reach out happens, you can consciously set them aside and just receive what's actually being offered instead of filtering it through what you wanted or feared. Here's what I want you to remember when that contact comes. When you see their name on your screen, when you read or hear the twist, you are allowed to be surprised. You're allowed to have assumed wrong. You're allowed to have misunderstood the situation. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human, operating with incomplete information. And they're allowed to reveal truth you didn't know. They're allowed to have perspectives and experiences you weren't aware of. They're allowed to surprise you. The question isn't whether the twist is shocking. The question is what you do with the new information once you have it. Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't. And remember that you remain in control of how you receive the twist, of what boundaries you maintain, of whether you let new information change your stance or simply inform it. I seriously hope you see this before they reach out. Get prepared for the twist. For information that changes your understanding. For revelation that doesn't match your assumptions. For a conversation that redefines what you thought was settled. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you can handle surprise. Trust that twists, while disorienting, often bring necessary clarity. Trust that whatever they're about to reveal, you're strong enough to process it wisely. Trust that you don't have to have it all figured out immediately. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to prepare for the unexpected. Thank you for being open to information that challenges what you thought you knew. You're exactly where you need to be. About to receive contact, about to hear the twist, about to get information that recontextualizes everything. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Stay grounded. Breathe through surprise. And remember, twists aren't attacks. They're revelations. Receive them wisely.